Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. Happy belated Valentine's Day. Show us some love by subscribing to the channel for more content. For this episode, we are doing a review for a film that we wanted to do a long time ago, but never got the chance to. Vesper, directed by Kristina Buozyte. Akram, what did you think of this low-budget but amazing sci-fi film?
Yeah, it knocked me off my socks. Is that the expression that you Englishmen say? Yeah, it was. First and foremost, they had so many studios like for budgeting and producing and stuff. A lot. I never seen it before. It was like a NASCAR race, but it looked beautiful. You could tell that the quality from the CGI was really great. The story building was very original, and I think it has a unique aesthetic. And I think hopefully we could see more from these two directors, because also Bruno Samper in the future. But let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, so the movie opens up with this great kind of landscape shot, and it really sets the tone for the whole atmosphere of the movie. I just love seeing like those giant spore things in the backgrounds, because in a way it's kind of showing like that nature has kind of like dominated the world, kind of like the Last of Us, how like it's kind of like this biopunk or biological futurism kind of theme. So I really love the atmosphere of this movie, and I think the cast was amazing. Raffiella Chapman as Vesper, she made it seem so believable. That she's kind of like this person that has adapted, and she kind of knows her way around certain things. And seeing Richard Brake, even though he was kind of silent for most of the movie, his mannerisms and his gestures just felt like he was kind of like this very disabled character, right? Even though he's speaking through a robot, he shows so much emotion. But yeah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the relationship between these two, and I that's a cool idea that he could transfer his consciousness or something like that through this robot, this droid, and follow her around, and be the father figure through a droid. So it's kind of a sad take too on that, but it's nonetheless very unique. And then we got Jonas, played by Eddie Marsan. I haven't really seen this guy act as this type of villain character in many projects before, so this is really interesting to see him being such a bad guy here. And I just love how they built up the world where there's certain sections or like groups or tribes, and he basically had multiple children with, I guess, multiple women and stuff, and a little bit of like inbreeding or something like that. But I think what stood out to me the most was the jugs. We were introduced to these subhuman well, kind of, they're basically, to them, they're subhuman, and they seem like mutants. They were created, but they remind me of kind of like these, how they alluded to it, like cattle kind of dragging carts and whatnot, doing these types of tasks. That's akin to slavery. They're nothing to the regular people.
Yeah, I kind of saw them as like the next evolution of man in a way, because kind of like how nature has evolved, and you see like these, like, because if you notice, there was like no animals in this world because most of them died out. A lot of the vegetation is like alive. And so just like how nature has kind of evolved, so as like humanity in a way, even though it's through like a more forced synthetic reproduction. It was interesting because we saw like that first jug was like a more, obviously, like you said, like subhuman, or like it still was kind of human, but it had like, more features. But then we were introduced to this character named Camellia.
Now we're getting into spoilers, guys, so yeah.
Introduced by Rosy McEwen, and she's very believable as a human. And then it really took me by surprise, actually, that she was a jug. But what did you think of her character?
Yeah, I was kind of put off because I was like, oh, she's acting a little strange. It seemed like, so they crashed down. She crashed down with her father. And they live in a high society. I think it's called what was it called? The Citadel, right? So every futuristic thing always has like a citadel. And she crashed down, and she received help from Vesper, and was healed. And yeah, she I thought she was some type of killer or something like that. Like that was going to be the plot. It was like this lady's destroying the whole town or something later on. It was like to throw you off. But no, she was actually really sweet. And she is a new type of jug, more human like. And she was created by her father through biohacking. And apparently that's illegal too. To even sympathize for jugs is a big no-no in this new world. And yeah, I really liked her character a lot, to be honest. I think she was not the mother figure that Vesper lacked, but more of a sister figure, I feel. And she was very emotional, and they did have a lot of things in common. So I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, at first I thought she was kind of like this character that like lived a very privileged life, and she couldn't really like empathize with like Vesper because they're from two totally different worlds. Um, but as the story unfolds, you kind of see that Camellia has had her own struggles in a way. I love that scene where she was kind of reminiscing about her creator Elias, and she was kind of like reminiscing like all the things that he did, and it's implied that he perhaps like maybe raped her as well.
Wait, who? Elias? No, Elias was just a father figure.
Yeah, but she said like he did like she did everything that he wanted him to do. So he's basically like her creator. Like in a way, yeah, he is her father. But there was a scene too where Jonas, like when he was about to kill Elias, I heard Elias say like, "Oh, Camellia, like close the blinds and come lay with me" or something. So it's
Wait,
kind of
what?
weird too. So maybe in a weird way, like like he took advantage. Or that's how I took it.
Wait, what? Well, I'm not gonna go on a full debate with the review.
Oh my god, her manner, her facial expressions, and when the way she paused before she said he did. You're so fucking stupid. Because she's a jug. That's the whole point. He took advantage of her because she's a lower species. I'm not saying that he did. I'm just saying it's alluded to because of that scene.
What it seems like is like people made these plants, and they made it. They made these plants, and these plants are attacking them. It's kind of like this perversion of something good attacks them back. So it's kind of like, well, I'm your father, but I'm going to fuck you. It's very perverted, and so I could see that like that if they wanted to go down that path. I mean, I'm like 80% agreeing with you, and the rest. No. A debate, you have to agree with somebody. I'll agree with you, yeah.
Is Akram agreeing with me?
But yeah, well, let me get your thoughts on this though. So how did you feel the relationship between Vesper and Jonas, and especially that climax that we kind of saw later on when they all met each other?
Yeah, that was
barn.
really very creepy. Like Jonas,
Yeah.
well, that's why I love the actor who played Jonas. He comes off as a very like, I don't know, like very it almost feels like a, I don't know, like a power control dynamic. Like
You
he's
say
using
that as if it's such a dirty word.
I know. I love that line. But yeah, he's obviously like he's the cause of like all this inbreeding going on in this community, and he's trying to live in this world. And like I love the scene where like him and Vesper are talking, and she's talking about like the future, but he's like kind of like, you just have to like survive in this. So he's a product of this environment. Basically, he doesn't want things to change because he's in control of it, right? But he's also in control of like the seeds. And then Vesper, I love Vesper's character too, because she's kind of like this scientist in a way. So even though she's so young and like so naive, she's forced to kind of adapt. And even though she's taking care of her father, she wants a life beyond that, right? She doesn't want her whole life to just be like taking care of her father. She has dreams too. And it was sad when like her father too, like, the cost of dreams are high. So I love seeing like her little experiments in her lab, and just seeing like how smart she is too.
Yeah, she uses her strength and her wits, as the synopsis says here, and she completely does. She's very independent, and I think she's a great, strong character. And what did you also think of that world building, because I want to touch on the world building a little bit too, because again, this world building is super unique. The lore that they crafted here, and I could see that this was probably a dream film to make for these directors. They probably thought about this for so long, and that's why they had so many production lines and stuff like that just to help out. What did you really think of that? And coming from a visual arts background yourself, what did you think?
Yeah, it feels like something like out of a graphic novel or like a video game. It's so believable. It's really surprised me that this was an IFC film too, because the CGI just felt so
Yeah.
realistic. Just seeing the environment and the creatures, like sometimes you can tell when it looks like a little fake, but here it seemed like so natural, and I love like the biopunk kind of style of it. It just feels like the whole world is, like I said, like the spores, and then just seeing like the little those little things that were in the ground too. And I love too like that how Vesper has like kind of like a respect for this world too. Even though it's something that could easily kill her, but she knows her way around it too. And even the things like the technology that they had, like the machine that kept her dad alive. I love the practical effects in this movie too, because it seems like something that could be really invented, like those kind of skin patches that she puts like to heal people. It feels like something that's like, next generation, but it's like in the near future or something. But yeah, how did you take it?
Kind of nasty, but it's really cool. It's really interesting. I mean, even the droid has like the insides are this type of organic material, synthetic organic, really interesting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Aliens movies with some stuff with the droids. Yeah, the plants, I mean, she found a way to kind of utilize them as a weapon, but at the same time to utilize them to maintain life. And I think that's really, especially at the ending, that was beautiful. I think the overall face value of the movie kind of seems like some stuff we've seen before in terms of, the classic narrative with this huge story and things are in line and stuff like that, and some girl meets some person and blah 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 blah. But I think deep down it's a really deep movie, and it has a short runtime too, which is interesting. It kind of felt, when I was watching, I felt like as if it was 2 hours for some reason. That's not a bad thing. I just think the way how they paced it out, I think, was so well done that it felt like it was, but yeah, what else thoughts you have?
Yeah, I agree. I thought like when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought it was going to be like this kind of big action pack kind of sci-fi movie that we've kind of seen before. Like maybe there was going to be like a whole war or something going on. But when I watched the movie, it's very small scale. It's this very personal story. Even though there's only like 4 main characters in it, it just feels like, I don't know, we got so much sense of the world just from the dialogue scene, not even just from like the CGI, just from the dialogue scenes. I just feel like there was so much exposition just from the way that these characters interacted. You just got a sense that, this world just went through hell. Just seeing how Camellia lives and how Vesper lives, right? And I love how like they interacted too, like that. Like you said, they're like sisters, right? They bonded over just like, music and, this book of animals, right? There was a deep rooted connection somehow, even though Camellia is not even really human. She has very human elements, right? And that's what I love about this. And yeah, like I said, like Vesper, she has like such a deep respect for this world, because even though these plants and things could easily kill her, she's still growing them and trying to, fertilize the land. And she has these cool experiments, and she's showing Camellia like all these flowers and stuff that she made. And yeah, some parts of this world like are kind of nasty. Like I think it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. Just kind of like as a forewarning, I guess. Like take care of the environment, or it'll come back to bite you or something. But I think it was beautifully done. I think the director did a really good job with this movie.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. And I also like that she has similar interests to some people that's living in a citadel, right? She's not privileged, but she can do plenty of biohacking abilities that they have, right? That she could do the same thing as they can. And she found like this miracle thing through Camellia, and out of nothing, with no tools, basically. So it was really cool to see her journey. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, there was mixed criticisms for this movie, but I thought overall it was really well done and it was really refreshing. Because I feel like a lot of sci-fi movies, like I talked about in the Avatar Revisited episode, like I feel like the genre is kind of a blur. It just feels like everything feels the same. But I think this movie really gave a new perspective, and I think it really gave a new appreciation to like agriculture and science, and I really love that.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, everybody, that is our review for Vesper. Dylan, why don't you take us away?
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this review. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to like and subscribe as always. You can check our episodes out on Anchor, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. Check out our playlists that we have already, and we have a lot more content planned for the rest of February. But yeah, until next time, guys, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.